Hi, Ronnie here. Mechanicsville, Virginia. Standing on top of the Chickahominy Bluffs. This is a lookout for the beginning of the 7 days battle. Got the thing here with Longstreet, Robert E. Lee, and D.H. Hill. Just let you read a little bit of this. I won't spend too long. You can always pause it. But this is interesting up here what the guy said. If there is one man in either army, Federal or Confederate, who is head and shoulders far above every other one in either army in audacity, that man is General Lee. Lee is audacity personified. His name is Audacity. Joseph Ives, officer on the staff of President Jefferson Davis before the 7 days battle began. Look straight ahead there, that's Mechanicsville over on the hill. And in this photograph here you can see what they're looking at. I'm going to push this little button here and see what they have to say.
June 26, 1862. In the late morning, an anxious Robert E. Lee ascended the bluffs here and gazed out across the nearly treeless Chickahominy Valley into the tiny hamlet of Mechanicsville. Using binoculars, he watched for the arrival of Stonewall Jackson, an indication that the long-awaited attack against the Federals had begun. One Confederate officer recalled the tense scene.
The division commanders and a few brigade officers were standing on the road, some in the sun and others grouped back in the shade, and long columns of infantry hidden from observation in the heat. 50 yards back, sitting in the shade of a few trees, were several dismounted persons, amongst whom I saw President Jefferson Davis and Mr. Randolph, the Secretary of War. No one seemed to be talking to his neighbor, and overall there seemed to rest a cloud of painful anxiety.
Late in the afternoon, the onlookers sprang to their feet when the sound of gunfire was heard. Confederate skirmishers were seen pushing the Federals through Mechanicsville. General Lee approached his senior division commander, General James Longstreet, and said, "Those are Hill's men." And then, in a quiet tone, as if he spoke of the weather, he said, "General, you may now cross over." Within a short time, nearly 25,000 Confederates crossed the Chickahominy. Lee's offensive, which would become known as the 7 Days Campaign, had finally begun.
Well, that was pretty interesting. It's Highway 360 going by now. That was probably used back in the Civil War days as a trail. But I've got kind of a little history over here myself. Right down through those woods, my first wife lived with her grandfather, and he had 160 acres right in there. And when we were first starting to date, he would tell me stories about how he would patrol his land down there with a shotgun because poachers were coming in there with metal detectors trying to find things. And he said it was, of course, when they had this battle, Coal Harbor right here at Mechanicsville, there was a big flood at that time, and he said there was cannons down there in the swamp on his property, and just all kinds of things you just can't imagine. And he said it was even bodies down there that had never been recovered. that was still in the brush near the creeks and all. But I never went down there. That was back in the early 60s. And it has since been, he died and they sold the property, and now it's government subsidized housing all on it. They covered it over, so go figure. But this was a pretty deadly battle. A lot of history right here in Mechanicsville. That's it.